Hey there, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Mel if you're new. I absolutely love to cook and share new recipes with all of you. And today I have 4 brand new ground beef recipes. I hope you enjoy. Let's go ahead and get into it. Kicking off today's video, I'm making this ground beef gnocchi recipe. I'm starting by chopping up half of a yellow onion, and then over to my pot I'm adding 1 pound of ground beef and that onion straight in there, and we're gonna let these cook together. Once my ground beef is just about done, I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of minced garlic and 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I'm just going to mix that together and let that garlic cook for about a minute or 2. Once that's done, go ahead and drain any grease that there might be. If there's not a lot, you can just leave it in there. Go ahead and add 1 undrained can of diced tomatoes, a half cup of beef broth, 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, and a 1 pound package of traditional gnocchi. Make sure you give this a really good stir to incorporate all those flavors together, and then you're going to let this come to a light boil. Once the liquid looks like it's boiling, go ahead and reduce the heat to a low-medium heat. Give this one more good stir and then add a lid on top. I let this cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. You just want to make sure that your gnocchi is nice and tender and soft. At this point, you can add in about a half a cup of freshly shredded Parmesan cheese. And then I'm going to add some salt and pepper. You can adjust this to your liking. I gave this a quick stir to let my cheese begin to melt in the sauce. I'm also going to add in a few shakes of garlic powder and just a little bit of red pepper flakes to finish it off. I'm going to give that a really good mix together, let this cheese melt and let the sauce thicken up. Here is what my finished bowl looked like. We absolutely love this recipe. I like to top mine off with a little bit more Parmesan cheese, a little bit more red pepper flakes, and of course just a few shakes of parsley just to give it a little extra color, but this recipe is so good. Up next, we're going to be making these enchilada meatballs. I started by chopping up half of a yellow onion into really small pieces. You want to make sure that they are very fine pieces. Into a big bowl, go ahead and add 1 pound of ground beef, 1 egg, the onions that you just chopped up, about 3 to 4 tablespoons of taco seasoning, or you can do a homemade taco seasoning if you'd like, a half teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and a half cup of mild shredded cheddar cheese. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up with my hand, but you can feel free to use a different utensil or wear a glove, whatever you want to do. Just get that mixed up really well. Once that is mixed up, you can go ahead and start rolling up your meatballs. For me, I like to make these about the size of a golf ball because they will shrink a little bit. And I decided today that I wanted to just cook these in my air fryer so the outsides got nice and crispy. For me, this made about 10 meatballs. This is what it looked like in my air fryer. I just cooked those on 360 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. While those were cooking, I went ahead and started in on my Mexican rice. I went ahead and just used a packaged Mexican rice, but again, you can make your own. I've never made this one before. This was actually a substitution for the Nor Mexican rice, but it was pretty good. I just followed the directions on the back of the box for this rice, except I added in 1 can of drained and rinsed black beans. here is what the beans and Mexican rice will look like when it's all done. About this time, your meatballs should be finishing up as well. You can just go ahead and add those on in there. And then over top of the meatballs, you will add one 10-ounce can of enchilada sauce. I'm just using the mild red sauce. And then I'm going to top this off with a handful of shredded Mexican cheese. I'd say there's about a half cup to 1 cup there. I'm going to add the lid of my pan and just let that melt down. This may not look the most appetizing, but I promise you it's really good. I topped mine with some sour cream. My husband used some Taco Bell Diablo sauce on his. We both really enjoyed this recipe. Wasn't sure if it would come out, but honestly, I think I would make it again. It was really good. It's that time of year, time to pull out your grill, and time to make these delicious bacon chipotle cheddar burgers. We're gonna start off by making this super easy chipotle mayo. I've made this many times on my channel, but all you need is a half cup of mayonnaise. Make sure it is mayonnaise and not Miracle Whip. A half teaspoon of garlic powder and a half teaspoon of chipotle chili powder. Give it a really good mix and then let it sit while you cook the rest of your meal. In this bowl, I have about a half pound of thick sliced bacon. I'm going to go ahead and just use my kitchen scissors to cut this up into really small pieces. I brought my bacon over to my skillet and I'm going to go ahead and just brown this up. Once my bacon was cooked, I just went ahead and removed this to a plate lined with a paper towel. Into a nice sized bowl, I'm adding 1 pound of ground beef. I believe this one was 80/20 specifically for these burgers. I'm adding in my bacon, a few shakes of Worcestershire sauce, a half teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of mustard. And finally, we're going to add in the cheese. You'll need to add a half cup of shredded mild cheddar cheese and then get this mixed together and divide it into 4 burgers. These burgers can fall apart pretty easy. If you have a burger press, it's best to use one of those. Unfortunately, I do not have one of those, so I just made sure to squeeze mine together extra tight. And then I put these in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes so that they could get cold. That'll help them keep their shape once my husband took them out to the grill. I didn't get any footage of him grilling these burgers, but he did do that for me. I did ask my husband how long he grilled these, and he said about 2 to 4 minutes per side until it came to a safe temperature. Grilling is not my forte, so we'll have to trust him on that. Making these burgers, you can add more cheese if you'd like to, but there is already cheese in the burger, so it's not necessary. I added my chipotle mayo right on top of my burger, followed by my lettuce, tomato, and some of my red onion. And then this is what my burger looked like with everything on it. These burgers are so delicious. They are really, really flavorful. I did serve mine with a 7-layer salad. I will have that in another video coming out soon, but my husband was a huge fan of these. And finally, we're making this Southwestern sweet potato skillet. Into my skillet, I'm adding in 1 pound of ground beef with half of a yellow onion. I already had this in my refrigerator chopped up, so I just went ahead and added it in. Into my ground beef, before it cooks, I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of cumin, a half teaspoon of salt, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. You can always add more seasonings later. I'm going to let these cook together. I used a pretty lean ground beef, so once this cooked there was not a lot of grease in there, and basically any grease that there was, my seasonings really kind of soaked that up. If you have a lot of grease, go ahead and drain that off. You may have to adjust your seasonings if you do. Next, I'm adding in about a tablespoon of minced garlic. I'm going to let this cook for about a minute or two. Then you'll add in 2 cups of peeled and cubed sweet potatoes, 1 can of fire roasted tomatoes, 1/4 cup of water, and 1 can of green chilies. I'm then going to get this mixed together really well. I'm going to add the lid onto my skillet and let this simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes on a low to medium heat. I did remove the lid once while it was cooking and give it a stir just to make sure the potatoes were cooking evenly. After about 25 minutes, my potatoes were fork tender, so now we're going to add our cheese on the top. I had just a little bit of shredded mild cheddar left, so I added that on top, but then I went ahead and finished it off with some Mexican style shredded cheese. In total, this was probably a little over a 1/2 cup of cheese. I just spread that around really good, added my lid back on for just a few minutes, and then this is what it looked like once all the cheese had melted on the top. Here is my finished bowl of food. I did add some avocado slices on there, some sour cream, and cilantro. But overall, this dish was really good. My husband was not a big fan because he is not a huge fan of sweet potatoes, but I really enjoyed it. If you made it to the end of this video, leave me a flower down in the comments. I'd love to know what you thought of this video. I am open to requests. I'm kind of in a recipe funk and really don't know what to make right now, so I would love any comments or requests from you guys. I will see you guys back here on Wednesday with a new video. Bye guys.